Hello and welcome to Tax Matters.
As of September 2022, his organization was able to make 7.5 trillion from tax.
On this episode, Muhammad Nami backs Excellence in Public Service Awards. Minister of Finance presents Budget 2023 details. CITN confers fellowship on 263 associate members. States improve IGR as Rivers State tops the list. We'll begin this episode with cheering news of the conferment of Nigeria Excellence Awards in Public Service in the Fiscal Reforms category on the Executive Chairman FRS, Chairman Joint Task Board, Muhammad Nami, on Friday, 21st October 2022. The colorful ceremony, which was held at the Aso Rock Villa, was presided over by President Muhammadu Buhari, who personally presented the awards to every recipient. The award was presented to Mr. Nami by the President in recognition of his efforts at shoring up revenue for the country by introducing unprecedented institutional modernization and technological reforms that have seen the FRS transform into the nation's foremost cash cow. Mr. Nami was in very good company of 44 distinguished Nigerians, including former head of state, President Goodluck Jonathan, governors, ministers, military top brass, and accomplished public servants. We congratulate Mr. Nami on this well-deserved award, which is an affirmation at the highest level of the good work that he's doing at the FIRS. Congratulations, sir. A few episodes ago, we did a report on taxing the informal sector. Informal sector enterprises, by virtue of their size and ownership, more often than not come under the purview of state internal revenue services, who are empowered by law to charge enterprises, partnerships, one-man businesses to tax. It is very important that the states improve and increase their internally generated revenue so that they don't continue to rely on monthly FAC allocations. The goal of all states should be to be able to fund the activities from internally generated revenue. How can this be done? How do we bring the informal sector into the tax pool?
Okay, to get the informal sector into the tax net is nothing but education. We have to continue to do tax education, go to grassroots, use all the means that we can, through TV, through tax matters, through radio jingles, through mobile advertisements and all of that. It must be continuous education, going to the grassroots, explaining to people the need for them to support to support government, that this is our country and we must all work together to see that it succeeds. That's the way to go.
Yeah, I think at the moment the government is not doing enough. There are sectors that have not been formally explored. Very much importantly is the informal sector. I mean the traders and every other person. Those sole proprietors too, the business owners have not been well taxed enough. So I think if there are policies around that and it's been very much explored, there could be a lot of revenue that will be realized in that sector.
Like you rightly said, a whole lot of people are within that bracket, right? Our house helps, the mechanics, all of them, right? So it's important that we are able to come up with something that can bring these guys into the tax net. And basically, we'll be looking at the presumptive tax, right? Where we can come up and see what works for our own peculiarity in Nigeria, so that these guys can contribute their quota, to the upliftment of this country.
According to statistics, a large chunk of the informal sector is outside the tax bracket. How can we bring them into the tax net?
Okay, well, majority of the people in the informal sector of the economy do not really keep records of the income that comes in for them. So the means to ascertain their income is rather difficult. But we have been working together with the market women and also the unprofessional sector of the economy, whereby they have associations that we can come together and agree on what they will be taxed upon. And there's what we have also called presumptive tax that enables, us to be able to ascertain their income. So we have what is somewhat like a deemed income that will enable us to know that, okay, people that are within this type of sector of the informal sector, that this is the amount of income a plus or minus kind of a thing that they will be that will base their taxes upon. So that's where we got the presumptive tax from.
The issue of informal sector has to do with unwillingness and lack of information at the part of some, at the part of government, and at the same time at the part of the taxpayers. Because even the regulation, the law itself, encourages the informal sector, particularly the presumptive tax regulation, that at the point where you continue to pay tax, they are supposed to keep some level of information that will make them migrate into the formal sector. But because of the unwillingness, which that is the area the government need to come in, and tax professionals to continue to educate, enlighten people that because of the fact that they are keeping business information or keeping record does not make them pay more tax. In fact, it should make them pay lesser tax because it gives them the opportunity to be able to deduct whatever expenses that they have incurred, and at the same time pay accurate taxes and make them know what they are earning, even in their businesses, and it brings progress.
It is an issue that should bother everybody that has anything to do with taxation. Number one is to gather the information. Well, recently government did one or two things and asked people to voluntarily register for 1, 2 things and all that. I feel they might have gathered some information through that process. So the major thing is that they should be deliberate about it, getting information. And most times when we talk about getting information, we always, or government policies in Nigeria, we always look at federal government. To gather information about public or informal sector, to my mind, has to start from the grassroots, the state, the local government.
Statistics is not even correct. I can tell you for real that we have over 90% of them out there, and like we have all known that oil is gradually going, and what we need to do now is to drag people to the tax net. For real, these people, they need a lot of enlightenment. They need a lot of enlightenment. Let them know what and what we stand for. We copy countries like Canada, and what they do basically is making people to do the needful. People don't know what they should do, right? But by enlightening them, they will know what to do. Then again, if they see what we are doing, majority don't want to pay tax because they say we want we pay. What did we achieve? You cannot just say, come and be paying your tax correctly now. When you don't, they're not even in your net. You do something to drag them. You can say, okay, like hairdresser, you ask them, oh, come and register. When you register, these are what you stand to achieve. You see people will come, by then you have their record. You don't have my record and you're saying that you come and pay tax, you should have my record, and when you have my record, you give me small bits, small incentive, gradually you see people coming.
Those interviews were conducted on the sidelines of the fellowship conference ceremony of the CITN held on Saturday, the 15th of October 2022, the story of which will come to you presently. But before then, the Honorable Federal Minister of Finance, Budget and National Planning, Dr. Mrs. Zainab Ahmed, on Wednesday, the 19th of October, presented the details of the 2023 federal government budget. With regard to taxation, the minister spoke on strategic revenue growth initiatives, which include the improvement of non-oil revenue receipts through improved tax administration, efforts aimed at bringing more businesses in the informal sector into the tax net. Efforts will be focused in 2023 on taking bold, decisive and urgent action to address revenue underperformance and expenditure efficiency at national and subnational levels. On the Finance Bill 2022, which will govern the fiscal regime in 2023, the government is focusing on enthroning critical macroeconomic and fiscal reforms to spur vital investment in healthcare and climate change, fiscal reforms to spur job creation for youths, women and SMEs, and long overdue reform of the tax incentive regime to make them serve the needs of modern, new economy, high-growth sectors. We look forward to the presentation of the Finance Bill to the National Assembly.
I'm a very busy man. My business involves a lot of traveling and I interface with lots and lots of people and organizations. Tax compliance used to be a big drag on my business. It was time-consuming and very costly. But now, no more. Introducing the FIRS Tax Pro Max, the truly fully end-to-end tax administration solution for companies' income tax, value-added tax, petroleum profits tax, and all other tax types. For fast, efficient, and convenient end-to-end tax experience, log on to www.taxpromax.firs.gov.ng. Tax Promax has turned things around for me. It is fast, user-friendly, and cost-effective. FIRS, making tax administration as easy as ABC.
Welcome once again. One of the strategic revenue growth initiatives of the federal government in 2023 is to take bold, decisive, and urgent action to address revenue underperformance and expenditure efficiency at national and subnational levels. Good news is that the states of the Federation are already on the march in this regard. We have two reports in our hands. The first report is that of budget, while the second one is from the National Bureau of Statistics. The two reports go back in time to 2020 and 2021. According to budget, having been affected with fiscal shocks from the COVID-19 pandemic in 2020, which plummeted government revenues, the 36 states of the Federation commenced a rebound as the cumulative revenues of the states grew by 9.19% from the 4.69 trillion naira earned in 2020 to 5.12 trillion naira in 2021. In what it tagged the 2022 State of States report, budget reports that Rivers State came tops on the 2022 fiscal performance ranking. Other states in the top 5 are Kaduna, Lagos, Cross River, and Ebonyi. For the 2022 edition, all 36 states were ranked using 5 metrics. Index A examines states' ability to meet operating expenses, in other words, recurrent expenditure with only their internally generated revenue. Index A1 looks at the percentage year-on-year growth of each state's internally generated revenue. Index B reviews states' ability to cover all operating expenses and loan repayment obligations with their total revenue, internally generated revenue, statutory transfers and aids and grants without resorting to borrowing. Index C estimates the debt sustainability of the states using 4 major indicators: debt as a percentage of GDP, debt as a percentage of revenue, debt service as a percentage of revenue, personnel cost as a percentage of revenue. Index D evaluates the degree to which each state is prioritizing capital expenditure with respect to their operating expenses, in other words, recurrent expenditure. Rivers State maintained its overall fiscal performance position, ranking first like it did in 2020 and 2021. On Index A, that is, states' ability to meet operating expenses with only their IGR, just 2 states, Lagos and Rivers, generated enough revenues internally to take care of their operating expenses. On the Index A1, except for 3 states, which ranked the least, 33 states experienced an increase in their IGR from the previous year, with 13 states among them growing their IGR by more than 50%. Cheering news indeed. Now to the report of the National Bureau of Statistics. The NBS report is for half-year 2021. The NBS report more or less corroborates the budget report, even as the NBS report is for the 2021 half-year performance of the states in IGR generation. The IGR is subheaded under 5 categories: payee, direct assessment, road taxes, other taxes, and revenue from ministries, departments, and agencies. The 36 states and FCT internally generated revenue amounted to 849.12 billion naira in half-year 2021. In the first quarter of 2021, the internally generated revenue was 398.26 billion naira, while in the second quarter it amounted to 450.86 billion naira. This indicates a positive growth of 13.21%. Lagos State has the highest internally generated revenue with 267.23 billion naira in half year 2021, followed by FCT with 69.07 billion naira and Rivers State with 57.32 billion naira. According to the MBS, the 2021 IGR increased by 21.54% compared to the 1.56 trillion naira recorded in 2020. We want to commend the states for putting in efforts to shore up revenue. You are still on to tax matters. On Saturday, the 15th of October, the CITN conferred fellowship on 263 associate members, elevating them to the highest status attainable by tax professionals. Prince Tunde Oretuga is the Chairman Membership and Professional Conduct Committee of the CITN.
The award that the leadership of the Institute will be bestowing on you today comes with a lot of expectations and further commitment to the affairs of the Institute. Therefore, I urge the new conferees to continue to abide by the Institute's Code of Ethics and related obligations and commitments as they make the utmost contributions to the growth and development of the Institute.
When it comes to our institute, the highest level you can ever get to is to become a fellow. And in talking about this fellowship, we are looking at the people who are actually the light of the institute. You don't become a fellow overnight. The minimum you can talk about is to talk about 5 years. And that is the height of the profession. And mind you, bearing in mind what is happening in the country as of today, I can say it on good authority that members of the Institute are the future of this country. You must therefore consistently strive to stay up to date on trending taxation issues, given the dynamic and ever-evolving nature of the profession. Finally, the fallout of the MOU, Memorandum of Understanding, between ICANN, ANAN, and CITN has led us to have a new regime of tax practitioners, which means we no longer have a controversy that borders on who should do what. We now know who is meant to act as taxpayers' representative. And we are working out with these other bodies in making that transition seamless. So I can assure you as of today, your institute is the one that is recognized both by law and administrative authority to be the taxpayers' representative when it comes to other issues.
The special guest of honor in his keynote address commended the CITN for its strenuous efforts in elevating taxation as both a profession and as a course of study.
Taxation is believed to overtake oil to become the mainstay of Nigeria's economy. Thanks to CITN for producing tax experts who consistently advise government at various levels on revenue enhancement mechanism. The idea of the Institute to develop professionalism through stakeholders' engagement is a key initiative for enhancing nation's revenue mobilization, as it is indeed to provide comprehensive strategy for increasing tax revenue over the space of time. Let me further commend the leadership of this, our great institute, for spearheading the recent development of engagement with the Federal Revenue Service, which heretofore give more relevance to the members of the institute in tax practice in Nigeria. The pronouncement by the Federal Revenue Service that all audited accounts must be certified and sealed by CITN member with effect from October 2022 seems to be one of the greatest achievements and protection to tax practitioners since the inception of the institute. I therefore say congratulations to the leadership.
And then the conferment.
Mr. President, you have standing before you a total number of 263 associate members of the Institute. In accordance with the Institute's Charter, CITN Act, Cap C10, Volume 2, Laws of the Federation of Nigeria, 2004, I hereby recommend that you confer on them the fellow status of the Chartered Institute of Taxation of Nigeria this 15th day of October 2022.
By the powers conferred on me by the Charter of our great institute as the president and chairman of our council of the institute, I have to call on all conferees who are already standing to raise up your right hands and take the oath of allegiance as follows. I do solemnly swear that I shall always comply with the provisions of the Institute's charter. So help me God. Congratulations.
Few minutes ago, the people standing before us used the appellate ACTI. But finally, you can put behind your name FCTI. Please, can you put your hands together for yourself?
Later in an interview, we sought further clarification from the CITN president on matters arising.
So during your speech, you spoke about a fallout of the MOU between ICANN, the CITN and ANAN. What do you mean by this and how do matters stand today?
Okay. What I mean by it is the fact that the issue between us relating to how the practice of taxation should be carried out has been resolved. And in the resolution that was brokered by the Federal Revenue Service, we have resolved to now stay along the line of our professionalism. That means that when it comes to audit assurance and financial reporting, that responsibility rests on ANAN and ICANN. When it comes to tax issues, especially between taxpayers and the administrators, for a fee, that rests on us as a tax practitioner. Because the truth is that we have focused along our areas of expertise. It is not just about having knowledge, it's about having expert knowledge in the field in which you are operating. And that is why we decided to actually have that MOU. And as of today, the relationship between the three bodies are cordial. I can tell you that.
Now, you also said that the fellows, they are the light of the institute, and you said that their voices should be heard. What charge are you giving them and what are your expectations? Naturally,
when you get to the zenith of your profession and you become a fellow, it means that your profession recognizes you as an expert on the subject matter. You cannot be introduced as a fellow of the institute and you are saying that you have little knowledge about the subject matter. And that was why I said that they represent our very best. And when you represent the very best of a profession, you must always examine yourself. And that's why I made it clear. Your certification must not get in the way of your education. New things are coming up. New developments are happening around the field of taxation. You must keep yourself abreast in terms of knowledge. And you must also go beyond just acquiring today's knowledge. You must know where the institute and the profession is going in the future.
And from the special guest of honor,
can you please share with us what has been done in Kano State to effectively tax the informal sector and bring them into the tax pool?
Well, first I would like to thank you for the question because it's also an opportunity for me to share few steps taken by the Kano State government in trying to make sure that at least we have get a sizable number of informal sector on board. And that is going into a full implementation of what we call presumptive tax schedules. You understand, there are schedules developed actually covering all classes of trades, housemanship and all these things. There are a category of taxes that are expected of this category to pay. I think we have gone a long way in capturing them, some through groups, some through unions and some through all other means like that. And alhamdulillah, we've also been engaging them, you understand, trying to let them understand payment of taxes are not exactly as they thought initially. It is a civic responsibility. They should be proud doing it, you understand. And we went to an extent of explaining why the government need them to be on board for them to be able to know and lay a claim, you understand, as a citizen as to what exactly they have contributed to their state and what have you.
Congratulations to the new CITN fellows. We conclude by warning the general public once again that the FIRS is not recruiting. You are advised to be wary of fraudsters posing as agents of the FIRS. The FIRS has assured that if it is going to recruit, it will use official channels of communication to inform the general public. Beware. We thank you for watching as we enjoin you to go out there and pay your taxes as and when due. We need all hands to be on deck for a better Nigeria. Thank you once again. Bye for now.